In this final section of the Gullah Geechee style baskets, I'm going to let you hear from a few of my students and their response to the project. And I will give you examples of their student-teacher response so you can see some of the things the students wrote and experienced while creating this project.
Hi, I'm a student from Miss King's art class at General Ray Davis Middle School, and today I'm here to talk about the Gullah Geechee baskets. And the Gullah Geechee baskets derived from the Gullah Geechee people who originated in Africa, but were then enslaved and taken to the Atlantic coast to work on plantations. And these people would normally make these baskets out of more natural materials and for more practical purposes like to farm rice or to carry crops, but today we make them out of more modern materials like coil and yarn. And the basket process itself, for me, the most difficult part was the start, because you have to start with a tapered core, and the first wrapping with your yarn that you do is you would wrap it about 10 times, and the first stitch that you do is to the center. But after that, you would wrap it only 5 times until you make that first row, and after you make that first row, you would stitch to the row that you had just made. So it was kind of hard to pinpoint exactly when I had made that first row and could start to stitch to that row. But after that, it was pretty easy to just continue with the base and then start to move the coil upwards to make the structure. And then once I got to the end, or to the rim where I wanted to finish, that was also pretty difficult because you have to end the basket with another tapered cord, but this one is more gradual. And so at the end of that one, what I did was I just wrapped the yarn around the end more times than I usually would, and then tied it off at the end just to make sure it wouldn't unravel. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the process. Overall, it was very enjoyable and fun. It's a very intricate and concise process because you have to be very consistent with how much you wrap before you end up stitching. And that was a brief history on the Gullah Geechee baskets and the Gullah Geechee culture. Thank you.
As you could see in the last slide, Michaela discussed the process of creating her Gullah Geechee inspired basket. I've attached on this slide the information concerning her Gullah Geechee coil basket student response alongside with the teacher response. I find it interesting on number 7, did you keep a consistent shape to the form of your basket? Craftsmanship throughout the coiling process? Question and she had to explain her strengths and weaknesses in the process. Her response was, yes, the basket was kept in a consistent shape throughout the entire process. It was difficult trying to keep everything in order while wrapping and stitching. So that was what she was having a little bit of issues with the wrapping and then the stitching process. However, the stitching and the weaving itself was very enjoyable. So you can see in response, her responses throughout the document that she was able to accomplish everything, and she did a great job, as you can see, in her final product.
Hi, I am a student in Miss Katie King's class, and I wanted to start off talking about how this process of making this beautiful basket was very beautiful. I really liked this product and how it came out. First, I wanted to talk about the base. The base is very tricky. Starting the basket had to be the hardest part. This is the base. It took lots of tries, but in the end, I got it. The structure was not too hard. To start the structure, I had to curve the rope upwards to begin a curved wall. The stitching method I used was every 10 wraps I did, I stitched 2 times, leaving this beautiful pattern on my basket. The rim was concealed by the yarn, leaving my basket seamless. My basket was complete. In the Gullah Geechee culture, these baskets were used for fishing, basket weaving for agriculture, and textile arts for clothing, warmth. This experience was long, but the work paid off. Last thing I wanted to talk about was the teacher who taught me all of this form of art, Miss Katie King. She is a wonderful teacher, and I respect her for teaching me this form of art. Thank you.
In the last slide, you heard information from Michelle, another one of my students that created a Gullah Geechee basket. And again, I attached her student response alongside my teacher response in this slide. I find it really interesting and that Michelle was able to create a very intricate handle onto her basket. She did a great job. When I look at her document, number 6, did you finish your basket with a gradual tapered core with consistent wrapping and stitching? Describe the process you used to finish the basket, and did you add anything extra like a handle to your basket? Her response is, yes, the core was very tricky. The process was very long, having to wrap and stitch more, and the times, and it wasn't fun. However, she did add a handle to the basket. Once she got it down, she was able to accomplish that. She did a great job with that handle. That was the tricky part for her. And it does take a little bit of going back and forth, readjusting, making sure that angle that you cut for the handle where you end it off and how you bend it up, like you can see in this basket, is a little tricky. And she experienced that with her basket, but she was very successful with the end result.
My name is Camila. I'm a student in Miss King's art class. This week I learned how to make Gullah Geechee baskets. I learned how to stitch them, how to cut the yarn, how to connect the different colors, change the colors, how many rounds I have to do before the other stitch, and how to build it up. The most difficult part for me in the process was building the handle, because Miss King didn't show us how to do that. She said it was something that we could choose to do. So yeah, I really challenged myself making the handle, and it was really difficult for me to make it step up, like stay up. And yeah, I really enjoyed the process of making it and stitching it and just cutting the yarn. I don't know, it just cleared my mind up, and it was a really relaxing process for me. The Gullah Geechee baskets are actually descended from Gullah Geechee people, who are Africans who were enslaved for rice crops, cotton crops, hot peppers crops. They used the Gullah Geechee baskets like in storage for clothes, food, blankets, anything you can imagine. And they were made of plants and trees. So yeah. Gullah Geechee people are actually really known because of their valuation and their descendants in music genes like jazz, hip hop, soul, blues, all different sort of styles. Gullah Geechee people can be found today in South Carolina, Beaufort, some places in Georgia. So yeah, I think it's really good to keep that culture alive. And yeah, I really enjoyed making the Gullah Geechee baskets.
So the last slide had Camila's journey and experience creating her Gullah Geechee inspired basket. She did a great job. In the beginning, she struggled a little bit, and I had to work one-on-one with her with the beginning part, but she was able to pick it up, and she was very precise throughout the project, or through the process of creating that form, and she was able to manipulate the handle at the end, and she figured that out all by herself. So she went above and beyond, experimenting and working, and she did a great job. And you can see in her student response and the teacher response comments, you can see all the amazing things that she did. She made sure it was consistent, her stitching was spot on, and again, she was able to figure that handle out in the end. In the beginning, it was a little bit of a rocky start. I know it can get frustrating in that beginning stage when you're starting to start that basket, the center, the base core, but she was able to overcome that and create an amazing piece of art inspired by the Gullah Geechee people. I hope you enjoyed the webinar on the Gullah Geechee baskets. I've attached additional resources, so if you choose to incorporate this into your curriculum, you can utilize some of these places, websites, to get information to bring back to your children in your classroom. So I attached the National Heritage Areas U.S. Park Service website, the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridors website. Again, that's your national historic site that's here, runs along the coast of North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and a little bit of Florida. They have a lot of good information on their website about the history and the preservation of the Gullah Geechee and the arts and crafts. I also attached a link to the Georgia Outdoors episode on Georgia Public Television called Sapelo. It had some really neat segments that you could see Gullah Geechee descendants on the island of Sapelo working and creating a true sweetgrass basket. And then I attached information from the National Endowment for Humanities, the Gullah Geechee, or the Gullah Voices, Traditions, and Transformations in the K-12 Classroom. So if you choose to, maybe this spring, you'll apply for one of those teacher residencies and workshops and get to learn a little bit more hands-on about the Gullah Geechee people. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation. So if you have any questions or comments related to the Gullah Geechee style baskets webinar, please feel free to shoot me an email at kking@rockdale.k12.ga.us. I'm willing to share any of the resources that I created for the unit or any of the PowerPoints. So if you need anything, just let me know. I'm here to help. See you next time.